before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Agriculture is people.
Definitely.
What do the other 99% do? What options do they have available to them because they don't have to worry about where their food comes from?
Low prices squeezed essentially every farmer in America, but you farmers did what you always do. You kept on keeping on and you persevered.
Welcome to the Four Corner Ag Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Wirtz. And, oh my goodness, folks, we are getting ready for a really good episode here. We've got the CEO of National Western Stock Show, Paul Andrews, on. He is going to shed some light on some of the new and upcoming stuff that we've got going on and just hopefully drop some good information on all of you members and anyone who's listening that is not a member as well. Hopefully you guys get a lot of good stuff out of this. I'm going to let our co-host, Mr. Maverick Lighty, come in. And what do you got today, Maverick?
Hey, I'm your co-host, Maverick Lighty, serving as your 2021 Colorado State FFA Treasurer. I am super excited. I'm looking forward to this one.
Oh. Maverick, you're breaking in and out a little bit there. For those of you who are normally listeners on here. Oh. All right. So for those of you who...
I'm cutting out, aren't I?
Yes, sir, you are. Yeah, so for those of you who are normally listeners on here, Maverick and I are usually in the studio in my office together. We've got separate microphones and pretty good setup. But as life has it, Maverick is out on the road. I think he was headed to work or something. And if you're able to not break up, you can say what you're doing. But he's on the road in the pickup today, so he's calling in. And we're kind of just living by the seat of our pants here. There you go, Mav. I don't think that you were breaking in and out as much there. Oh. All right.
Yeah, I'm just driving back from Burlington today, so we'll make this work as best as we can.
Awesome. Yeah, you're sounding better right there, Mav. Well, I'm pretty excited. Hopefully, Mav, you've got some good questions going too, but before we really start asking questions and grilling you, Mr. Andrews, you've got the floor. Just tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, what you do. Just tell us all about it.
Well, first of all, gentlemen, let me say it is an honor and a pleasure to be speaking with both Caleb and Maverick here as we get going today. I'm sitting at the complex here at the National Western Complex as we do this, so hopefully I'm stationary and not coming in and out. I guess I'm a somewhat unique story in that I've only had two jobs in my entire life. I grew up here in Colorado, grew up in Lakewood, and went off to the University of Wyoming for school. And throughout my childhood, from about, third grade to 12th grade, I worked on my grandfather's ranch in Golden. He was a old Hereford rancher, and that was really how I grew up and grew to love agriculture, was working on that ranch. He had about 5,000 acres, and his name was Paul Patridge. I was named after him. And he was a director here at the National Western Stock Show, and his first son was Dr. Paul Patridge, who's a veterinarian, and he was the veterinarian here at the National Western from 1960 to 64. And in a tragic plane crash, he passed away that year that I was born in 64. So I was really named after the veterinarian of Stock Show, who was my uncle, and my grandfather, Paul Patridge. And lo and behold, years and years later, I become the president and CEO of the National Western Stock Show. So somewhat of a surreal story, really, if you think about it. So after college and graduated with a degree in marketing with a minor in finance, I went to work for the Denver Nuggets, worked for the Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche in what became Kroenke Sports Enterprises for 20 years, from 1990 to 2010, and ended up being the head of business operations from 2005 to 2010. So various roles there, guys. I was the director of ticket sales. I was the vice president of sales and marketing. I was the chief marketing officer for a few years, and then executive vice president and head of business operations for the Nuggets, the Avalanche, the Mammoth, and the Rapids, as well as the Pepsi Center and the buildings that Mr. Kroenke owned across the spectrum here. So, but when 2010 came, it was a chance for me to take my love of agriculture, my love of cattle and animals, and as Pat Grant, the president and CEO at the time, was deciding retirement was the right move for him at that point. I was interviewed for the job and was able to jump over to this opportunity here, and again, take my love for agriculture and really pair it with venue management and trying to further the National Western Stock Show into a new development. As the buildings around us, starting in when I got here in 2010, they're pretty worn down. They're still good, but they're pretty worn down. So anyway, just 2 jobs in my life. Nuggets, Avalanche, Kroenke Sports for 20 years, and I've been here as president and CEO for 11 years now.
Wow.
What a cool story.
That is impressive, I have to say. Kudos to you. Two jobs.
Lucky.
That
just
is
lucky,
pretty awesome.
Guys, that's all.
Lucky. Well, give me some of that luck, because that's really interesting. So you've got quite a bit of, well, you do obviously have quite a bit of experience in business and commerce there in the Denver area then, right?
Yeah, I with my now I've been in business here 30 plus years in Denver, Colorado. The sports teams, when I was overseeing that business operation, got me really ingrained into downtown Denver and the relationships that I needed to build there in order to move things forward with the sports teams. And that translated well into the National Western Stock Show, because what you find out in the stock show is you have to be really, really good at downtown Denver, as well as really, really good with all the ranchers and farmers out there. So you kind of got to speak both languages. And listen, I've always been very, very comfortable with the exhibitors, the producers, the people in America here that are in agriculture are frankly the nicest people on the planet. They're real people, right? And the two of you know that because you are that. And they're people that you can shake their hand and you can make a deal with them, and it's all great, right? That's not always the case in business across big cities. So you have to be able to work all those angles and still stay true to kind of the cowboy ethics that we all aspire to, but just keep one eye open on the deal making side when you're dealing with multiple entities as I deal with every day.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I bet that can be pretty complicated sometimes, but sounds like whenever it comes down to it, you're still out there really making those connections with producers and then bringing that into a more urban setting. And I think there's something really special about that is not done everywhere else around this world or around the country. And it's just really special because it's something that is kind of hard to do, I would think. I would love to hear a little bit about how that works, just making those connections between the rural side of your experiences and then the urban now side of it. I'd be interested.
Hey, Caleb.
Go ahead.
Sorry, but before that, I just had a little thought. Maybe we covered this already, but for everyone that doesn't know what the National Western Stock Show is and what that kind of looks like in downtown Denver. Do we want to give like a little overview of that and how cool and special that is to Colorado and especially Denver?
Sure. Yeah. Let me do a couple minutes on that, and then I'll hit Caleb's question too. So, the National Western Stock Show, we were founded in 1906, and we were founded on education and agriculture, and really celebrating the Western heritage that we all have here. But in 1906, guys, we had our first show, and 350 animals were shown. Really, it was cattle, swine, and some sheep. That was about it. And we showed them under a big tent. And that big tent at the time, if you believe the stories that you read in many of the publications, that was one of the biggest tents that anyone had ever put up in any city. So that's fairly interesting also. Then fast forward to 2000 or to 1909, and our first building was built. That would be the Stadium Arena, which is still standing today, and that's where all those champion animals are crowned. The grand champion steer, the grand champion hog. They're crowned right inside that historic structure. And we also had horse shows going on in there at the time. But it's interesting as we started to evolve right then and evolve into what we are today. We didn't have rodeo. There was no rodeo back in the early days of the National Western Stock Show. In fact, the board of directors did not allow rodeo until 1931. So from 1906, 1931, we were a livestock show and a horse show. And all of a sudden, the board in 31 with the president and CEO said, we have got to start doing some rodeo here. And lo and behold, the rodeo was born. And then the trade show came along years later. So as you fast forward to today, as we sit here today, we are the Super Bowl of livestock shows. So we showed about 15,000 head of animals back in 2020. Obviously, we had to postpone 21 due to the global pandemic. But our last show, about 15,000 head, compare that to 350 back in 1906, you can see the growth. We also have become one of the 4 biggest rodeos in the world, the most prominent rodeos, one of the most prominent in the country, the Big 4 they call us part of. And we are also known as the really the highest of class of horse shows that you will find anywhere in America, coming to any of our horse shows here at the National Western Stock Show. And then finally, we do a lot of good stuff on trade show. So we have 900 trade show booth spaces at the National Western with agricultural products galore. Everything for your ranch or farm is on site. And then for those that maybe aren't so agriculturally inclined but want to celebrate their Western spirit, we've got all the hats and boots and anything you might need there to play cowboy for a couple of weeks here at the National Western Stock Show, and we welcome that too. So anyway, that's a little bit of quick history on the stock show itself. And as we manage through that, I have to have relationships built with the mayor, the governor. Those are important aspects of managing the National Western Stock Show. The great breed associations that are across this country that come to the National Western Stock Show. I think we had 11 national shows at our show this last January, a year ago, January.
Wow.
And, and the trade show exhibitor. So again, the horse show people, I mean, listen, we've got a lot of volunteers and a lot of committees that have been dedicated to this entity, really, which is a treasured asset of Colorado for the last, 114, 115 years. And we've grown in such a way, and then I'll stop because I know I get going and it's hard to stop me, but we've grown in such a way that the economic impact of our just our 16 days in January is $120 million for the Denver metro area. So wow. You think about, we are the biggest event that comes through this city every year, bar none, and have been for 100 plus years. There is nothing that has come into the city of Denver or really the state of Colorado that is bigger than the National Western Stock Show and the economic impact we drive. And not only are we proud of that, but we're proud to celebrate agriculture and really invite people to embrace agriculture. If you're only going to do it one time a year, do it at the National Western in January and learn where your food comes from, because it doesn't just show up at King Soopers. And the two of you on this phone know that better than anybody. But we got to get the urban consumer to better understand that there's hardworking men and women out there that are, and families, and there's families that have 9 and 10 kids because they need them to work on the ranch or the farm. And that's just the way it works in agriculture. So anyway, we got to keep doing a good job of educating America here on how their food is produced. And that's one of the goals of the National Western every year as well.
Wow. Maverick, you got anything there?
Well, I would say that to wrap that up a little bit, for anyone that hasn't been, it's just an incredible place. There's no aesthetic like the National Western Stock Show. And really, I think the cool thing about that is just education and really the connection that you get with agriculture, and then tying that into the big cities as well. It's just a super cool thing.
Yeah, it's very unique. You pointed out, very unique, Maverick, that we are at least in every show I've been to, and I've been to a lot, we are the closest to a downtown epicenter as anybody in the world. I mean, we're a mile from downtown Denver, Colorado. And to have a 100 or what's going to be 250 acre development here celebrating agriculture that close to the center of a major metropolitan city is very rare.
Wow. Oh,
yeah,
man.
I think about the
You broke up there, Mav.
agriculture on a daily basis, and then they get the opportunity for the 16 days in January to come and
Mav, we can't quite hear you, buddy.
And for a lot of those seen before, and so that's really neat. Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, I can hear you better now, Maverick. I apologize. I caught about 2 words of all that, and I'm sure it's about the same on both ends.
We'll see if I can.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening there.
Yeah, I don't think so. We'll see if Maverick can catch up a little bit. I am fully aware that where he's driving right now, up to Burlington, is way out in the boonies. I don't remember what highway that is, but it's pretty out there. So I'm sure that he's doesn't have the best service, and I almost bet that he can't even hear us right now. Nope, he cannot. That's all right. Here, let's see.
I just think about all the 9 people.
I hate to do this to him, but I think I'm about to.
Live in this city.
All right.
They don't get to see.
There we go. Okay. I hate to have just done that to him. I had to mute him so that we could. He kept going in. I'll text him or whatever whenever you start on your next question. But I've got so much that I want to get out of you that we got to keep going. But I was really curious, Mr. Andrews, about you said that the economic impact on Denver and that whole metropolitan area is just so significant. And I don't like to go directly to the negative side of what this year has kind of done and the events and everything. But with having to postpone this past year, What does that look like for you guys? What does that look like for myself and the listeners as consumers trying to go to the National Western? What does that effect kind of have on it?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's been devastating. I won't sugarcoat it. The our complex, you got to remember the National Western Stock Show is the behemoth that we own and operate in January, and it drives 85% of our annual revenues, almost 90 really. But the rest of the year, I have over 200 events at this complex. Lots of horse shows, lots of trade shows, lots of consumer shows, those sort of things. They were all canceled from March forward of 2020, and so we've had just devastation to our financials, as you might imagine. So we're going to be okay. We're going to make it to the 2022 National Western Stock Show, and we're going to put on a bigger and better stock show than ever, frankly, because we've had time to plan it even more than we've ever had before. So, but we are struggling. We are applying for funds from the federal government under what's known as the Shuttered Venue Program. We think we're eligible for some there. That we're a nonprofit 501c3, and we're also going through the Colorado legislature. Have some great backing from many of the senators. Obviously, the agricultural senator that we love so much out of Sterling, Jerry Sonnenberg, has always been a champion of stock show, and many of the legislators are now. But Jerry historically has been with the National Western, and we appreciate him a great deal as well as others. But so we're applying for funds there to make sure that we're solid financially as we head into the 2022 show. And I think we're going to be just really in good shape as we get there. But as of today, I've laid off 60% of my staff. We are cutting our budgets down as much as possibly can, just to slow the burn rate of cash coming out of the finances of this organization, so that we can celebrate the 115th National Western in 2022 and go for another 100 years beyond that. That's part of my responsibility here as the CEO.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and I want to express, however, it really is sad to hear that, but I want to express my gratitude towards you as well for really buckling down and making sure that the stock show can continue and you guys are able to continue to operate as best as you can, because just like anybody in this whole pandemic and this situation in the world, we're having to make cuts and find ways to make ends meet. And it's not an easy task, and I'm sure it's not an easy task for you either. And that's just something that we're seeing around across the board, really. And so I know that that's probably been a hard thing for you and all of your employees to have to deal with and figure out, but we really do appreciate it. And then coming in, and hopefully next year, my goodness, I'm excited to go next year. And it's just one of the most fun events that I go to every year. I know for a fact. I always love walking up those main stairs, and then all of a sudden you just have a big old draft horse or a longhorn steer, just a massive animal, and it's just there. I understand it's there to catch your eye and make you know where you're at, and it's just one of the most surreal experiences to all of a sudden walk up to. It's amazing. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. I know my staff works very hard at trying to get you on the wow factor when you just enter the building there, and seeing that longhorn and seeing the giant horse that sits there that you can actually put someone up on is always a real treat. And probably one thing that I neglected to mention as we were talking about, yes, we've had some devastation to our financials here. The good news is our scholarship trust, which supports right now 110 students that are going to school in Colorado schools as well as Wyoming, all 110 of those students will be fully funded, just as they were last year and the year before that and the year before that. So we're giving out $500,000 to support their education of those 100 students again this year. And that we're very, very proud of, and thankful for the ability to continue to do that, because education of those kids in agriculture is really, really important as we look to the future.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. No, that is awesome to hear. First of all, I know being a senior last year, graduating, and just coming up and getting ready for school, not necessarily that I've gone that direction, but I know that there are lots and lots of students, and in my side of things, members, right, FFA members, that all have applied and tried to take advantage of those awesome scholarships and everything. And it really provides a good opportunity to these members and students who want to go into agriculture and really further that industry in the future, because that's really what's important, is what our future looks like. And so I kind of want to use this as a bridge, talking about FFA and members, to kind of talk about some of this upcoming stuff that we've got going on for FFA. I know that you could probably talk forever on this new thing, and I'm going to let you introduce it, but you guys got some cool stuff for FFA coming up in the next couple of years, don't you?
Well, FFA has been tied to the National Western. Boy, I would hesitate to tell you the exact number of years, but if it wasn't from the beginning, I'd be darn surprised. But,
right.
FFA, 4-H, I mean, listen, we've been tied at the hip for a long, long time. And as always, we have FFA Day on site every year. We have a whole day dedicated to the celebration of those students that are FFA. And FFA also helps us with our tours. And I mean, it's just such a great relationship that we've had with both 4-H and FFA throughout my career and the tenure of every president and CEO that's been here. We can't do it without our friends in the FFA. That's darn sure. So we're just excited to move forward. And at the 2022 show, with the grand opening of the new yards and the grand opening of our Stockyards Event Center, this becomes a really historic year in terms of the National Western Stock Show.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I'm excited. I've been excited to see the new yards since I saw pictures of the lack thereof. I mean, it was always crazy to see pictures, and then I recently drove by, and just the difference of what it looks like right now versus what it will look like. I'm excited to see what it ends up being. But I really want to highlight here a piece of the new building coming out. I know that Mr. Auctioner and Mr. Thorne both got to go down there and sign one of the beams of the new building that you guys have going. And the way I understand it, in the future, maybe not all of next year, but in the future, I think we're looking at having some sort of dormitories or facilities for FFA state officers for Colorado. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, so you're referring to the Colorado State University buildings that are on site. So it would be better for them for you to have maybe a different session with CSU and the leadership there. But I can tell you from my seat as the National Western president that CSU is doing some amazing things. They have 3 buildings that are going up on site, and Don Thorne and others that have signed that beam are signing the beam to the Animal Health Center that will be complete, knock on wood, but we think it will be complete just prior to the 2022 stock show. So not only will we have the grand opening of the yards and the Stockyards Event Center, but we'll have the grand opening of one of the CSU buildings, if not 2. But CSU has 3 buildings coming up on site, and that one obviously is for animal health. They have a building dedicated to water and water research, and they have a building dedicated to food research on site. And those 3 buildings are going to be amazing and a great part of the National Western Center moving forward, and they'll be just a really welcome addition to the programming of the National Western Stock Show every January as well.
Man. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That does excite me. I'm really excited to hear about that and understand that that's going to be, you're exactly right in saying that. It's going to be just a momentous occasion with so many things happening, and I'm sure that 2022 is going to go down as just one of the most memorable years for the stock show to date. That's a lot of grand openings. That's a lot of new things, new activities, opportunities for people to have. And so I think that it's going to be really, really awesome. And I'm excited. Hopefully I can be a part of that here in the next few years, and being still involved in FFA and doing whatever I will. Who knows? Maybe I'll just have to buy a cow and go show there for some reason just to get there.
Yeah, do it. I'm all for that. All for that, Caleb.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd be curious. I'm going to kind of transition here. I'd be kind of curious into, with this year having to cancel, or well, I'll say postpone the event. Were you guys able to use that or capitalize on it to maybe change some plans or develop differently with the new stockyards, anything like that? What positive things have come out of that? Because I'm sure that there are.
Yeah, the positive thing that came out of the postponement of the National Western was the construction schedule. They would have had to demobilize all of the construction activity on site December 1st and remobilize it on about February 15th. Well, that's not that easy to do. For any of your listeners that are in the construction business, they could tell you that's a very difficult thing to do. So
Right.
The fact that they didn't have to do that allowed them to make up really about 3 months of time. And so that's enabling us to have the grand opening of the new stockyards at the 2022 show and the new Stockyards Event Center. And let me just spend a minute so you can understand the great level of exhibition that we're going to have out there in the yards that we've never had before. And the greatness of the Stockyards Event Center. We've never had a building like this. And it is going to revolutionize how people sell and market their animals on site from 2022 on. And I'm very confident in that statement. The yards are going to be 20 acres of yards with pins that, not only work, but pins that are still in a historic area.
Right.
They're in
Absolutely.
the area that they were 1906 forward. We just moved them just a little bit to the north. Well, to the north, you could have moved them 10 miles and you still would have been within the footprint of 1906 because you could look for miles and the yards were that big. So these are going to be great. We're going to be able to expand the herd sire area where you're marketing your display bulls. That will grow significantly, almost double. And
Wow.
that will allow us to the display bull footprint is going to be something to behold when you come to Stock Show 22. We're going to have power and water in the pins. I mean, that is unbelievable. For those of you that have come to the yards in the past, there's generators running everywhere. That's no longer going to happen. There is power. It is the differentiating factor that now the National Western Stock Show has over the entire world. There isn't anybody in the world that has yards with power and wash racks and water in every aisle. This is going to be unlike anything anyone has ever seen. And then adjacent to those yards is the new Stockyards Event Center, which has 2 large show arenas and an auction arena. We're self-contained into the building itself. That building is 1 football field long.
Whoa.
It is a giant building, and it sits right there in the yards. And, the fun that people have as exhibitors and the public coming to see this, they are going to be blown away by the opportunities that this area will allow our exhibitors from this point forward. There will be nothing like it. It's being built specifically for the cattle business. and specifically for exhibitor enjoyment and sales that can happen throughout the 16 days of stock show. So we are more than excited about the grand opening of the yards, and the hill this next year, the same as the hill has been. It's been great. It's going to get better even as we get the new livestock center completed, but that's going to be a couple years from now. But eventually you're going to have the yards and the hill right next to each other, because the new livestock center will come up probably by the end of 24, maybe early 25. And then you will have just facilities that are second to none in the country for exhibiting animals.
Wow. That is very exciting to hear. That spikes my interest, though. If you guys, so it's just going to be a momentous occasion, and just bar none, there'll be nothing like it. So I'm sure that you will be attracting more people to come show, more animals, more livestock. What are you guys preparing for on numbers? Because I would almost think that there'd have to be some growth there. Am I wrong?
Yeah, the data would show you are 100% correct. And so, we're going from, right now, we have 90 acres here, okay, that we're on with our buildings, and that's the footprint that we've been operating on for decades and decades. We're expanding to 250 acres. So we can allow much more growth, both in our livestock show and the general public that we can house on site in a comfortable manner, because you're not going to be shoulder to shoulder with everybody. So we really, we did 708,000 visitors at the 2022 National Western Stock Show. As we develop into the National Western Center, we are pretty confident, again, with just a little bit of good weather and people's excitement at an all-time high, hopefully.
Right.
We think we can go to 1 million people in January. Now, I'm not sure we can do that this January. In fact, it'd be difficult to do it this January. But once this complex is fully built out, call it 25, 26, somewhere in there.
Right.
I think we can fully get to 1 million people in just the January show.
Wow.
And expand our exhibitors quite a bit, expand, shows that we've been capping. We've had to cap our hog show at 500 entries for a long, long time. Maybe we can bring that cap off in our new facility here and let it grow a little bit. So anyway, this will change forever the business model moving forward for the National Western Stock Show. And, pricing doesn't have to frankly go up. If we can just maintain, I know minimum wage keeps going up and we have to keep pace with that, but we don't have to have major price increases here to grow. We just need more people on site, and we think we can get there.
Right. Wow. That is, that's a lofty goal or a lofty outlook, but I would almost bet that that's definitely attainable, because the amount of people around there and the ability for folks of an urban background to come in and really experience that is just astounding. I love the fact that that's what we're looking at, and that's what you guys are really hoping for, because that means that's 300,000 more people that the rural community will be able to exhibit to and really show what the background is, what we do in our day-to-day lives. And I think that is just important as can be in the days that we're coming to, especially when you're looking at 2025, 26, where our population will be, I don't know the exact number, but so much more than it is now, especially in Denver metro area where we're still steadily expanding. The extra ability for you guys to house and have the capacity for that many more people to experience that is just, it's mind-boggling. It really is. And, oh man, that just makes me super excited. That's really what that does.
Yeah, that's why we exist. We exist to make sure that those that maybe aren't so educated in agriculture can come to this show and embrace it, learn from it, and become even more respectful of the great ranchers and farmers that are out there producing the food here for the United States of America, of which we all love.
Right. Well, and that's exactly what we're shooting for, especially in my position and in your position. That's what we're doing, is we're making sure that agriculture is well communicated to the public, and that folks can truly understand what we do out here, where whether it's me out here breaking ice, keeping water to the cows, or you on the pedestal that you're able to be on, getting so many folks from urban areas in there. It's really the same job, just bringing people in and hoping that they're able to have that good experience and learn a lot. And I think that that's one of the most important things that we can do. I really, really do.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the sharing, you think about, Caleb, the sharing of best practices at our show from the great farmers and ranchers in this country that come to the show and get to interact with each other. That's another element that helps us get better at production agriculture. These guys and gals they see each other once a year, and they get to interact with them for a week or 2 weeks and learn what's working, learn what's not working out on their farms and ranches. And I'll tell you, there's nothing that can replace the benefits for all of us when that happens.
Right. Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head right there. Well, I want to just say, out of respect for your time, I know that you took the good chunk out of your day here to come talk to us and really get some good information out to the members and whoever's listening other than members. And so I really wanted to say I appreciate it, and I just want to say thank you. It's been good to talk to you, and hopefully we can meet in person here after some of these COVID guidelines come down, as we flatten that curve and everything, and hopefully that can happen one day.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's promise it to each other, Caleb. I think you and Maverick will be just great guests of ours at the National Western Stock Show in 2022. And, let's get this COVID thing behind us and all celebrate this coming January.
Right. Absolutely. All righty. Well, I sure appreciate it, sir, and we will talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, folks, that was Mr. Paul Andrews, the CEO of the National Western Complex. Oh boy, there was some good information in there, and I hope that you all got something, at least one tidbit of information out of that, because I know that I got a whole notebook full of stuff, and I fully intend on following up on some of it. There's just a lot of really interesting things there. One of the biggest things that hit me was talking about possibly having 1 million people attending the National Western Stock Show in 2025-26. Right now, they said that they were sitting at right at, I think he said 706,000, and that number just astounds me. But here in 4 years, I can imagine 300,000 more people, just what that's going to look like. That excites me. I don't know if it excites you guys, but that's crazy. I want to apologize for losing Maverick. I guess that's what happens whenever we've got other stuff going on, and that's okay. Hopefully Maverick will be on here a little bit more steady next time for our next episode. But alas, I'm sitting here texting him right now, and he's still driving, so hopefully you guys will get to hear from him again. But I want to give you guys a reminder that next week, this is going to be posted on Friday, Friday the 19th is when I'll post this episode. And so next week, 22nd to the 26th, is the weekdays for the National FFA Week. So I encourage you guys to jump on the Colorado Association social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat, and just take full advantage of all of the cool activities that we've got going for you guys. I know that there's got dress-up days, and you'll see me throwing a hay bale for the Ag Olympics up against Torin Farquharson, one of my teammates here. And so hopefully you guys will just take full advantage of that, because it's going to be a fun week. Hopefully you learn something about agriculture and just have a good time. So I guess that's a wrap for this episode, and I appreciate you guys coming in and listening. And I guess we will see you in the next episode.